Okay, let's take a look at the different ways that we can select objects. So first of all, up here we have several different selection tools. The first one is the Select Object tool, and you have this pointer, and you can go ahead and select various objects that you want to work on. You can also hold down the Control key to select multiple objects, and if you hold down the Alt key, you can remove objects from your selection. Also, if you've already gone through and named all of your objects, you can select objects by name. And you'll notice here that I have the bagels, for example, Bagel 1 and Bagel 00. I could go ahead and select those and click OK, and now those two are the selected objects. So you can select by name. You can also use the selection region, and you can see here that there's a little arrow on the corner of here, and if you click the flyout, you have rectangular, you have elliptical, you have the point-to-point, the freehand, and the painting. So let's take a look at the rectangular selection to start. So if I just click and drag around my teapot, you'll notice I can select my teapot. Also, when you're using this tool, the window crossing is very important. You'll notice that there's a little dot in the center here, and that means that anything that I draw completely around, when I click and drag out, any object that I draw completely around is going to be the object selected. If I change this by clicking on it, you'll see that I only have to touch part of the object. For example, if I go ahead and drag just a slight bit around the teapot, you'll notice it selects the entire teapot for me. Alright, let's take a look at the elliptical marquee. Again, we can use so let's click outside to deselect, and I can go ahead and draw out an ellipse, and I can select using an elliptical. And here we have a point-to-point. Let me go ahead and deselect, and depending on, let's say you want to select an odd shape selection, we'll choose this. And we'll click and drag and click, 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 and click. And you can see here that I've selected all the objects in my selection area. Alright, so the next one that we have here is the freehand. So I'm going to go ahead and select outside, click outside to deselect. And with this selected, you can kind of drag around the object that you want to select and release, and it selects your object for you. And finally, let's deselect that. We have the painting or the paintbrush one, and if you can see that you can use it to paint over. You'll notice I selected several objects just by, let me click outside and show you this. I can paint over my objects to select the ones I want. So another thing to pay attention to is this right here allows you to select what type. This is a filter for your selections. You can select all, select just your geometry, your shapes, your lights, and so on. And one more thing I want to show you with selections is, let's say I've created this object out of a bunch of other objects, and let's say I want to move it as a single object, or every time I select it, I want to be able to select all of them at once without having to do a lot of work to select it. Well, an easy way to do that is we'll go ahead and we'll use our rectangular marquee tool, and we'll go ahead and put it in the center here. And I'm going to drag out a selection box around them to select them, and now I'm going to create a selection set. So I'll come over here, and we'll just call this one Alien, and hit the Enter key to make that set up. Now if we select outside, what we can do, let's say we're selecting with our selection tool. Alright, let's go over here to the drop down, and if we just click where it says Alien, notice it quickly selects it for us. So this is a very handy tool for us to work with when we're creating compound objects out of other objects and putting them together, and we want to select them all as a single object. So those are the different ways that you can select your objects.